Well, I'm always going to be wrong. Pokemon! 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 Hello everyone, I'm Dustin Benzel and welcome to another Pokemon XY anime discussion. Today we're going to talk about the end of the XY series, as next week is of course the XY and Z. So let me just jump right into this and basically say, let me make this perfectly clear. The battle in of itself was amazing, was beautiful, probably the best double battle that ever existed in Pokemon. And that's this particular episode. Goodbye, Tucker. Hello, Olympia. But even so, Frogadier not evolving in this episode is one thing that I will have to severely criticize. At the end of the day, I guess nothing really matters. What is done, and I can't change that. Well, before I go further, I just want to add this review won't have a synopsis, and the images you might see might be random. That I'm not talking about them, but that's only because the nature of the gym battle is hard for me to recap. It really is. It's basically a exchange of attacks and thoughts and everything. It just, there really wouldn't be much for me to say in this gym battle outside of just exactly word for word what would happen. Well, word for word what I saw happening. There were some interesting things here. Ash and Serena got new Pokedexes relating to Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Team Rocket appeared at the end. Olympia had a vision of Team Rocket appeared in such a weird way. I didn't exactly get to see the full episode properly yet. I only saw the battle in of itself, and it was kind of cut, so I don't know if Team Rocket appeared. But based on the images that I've seen of the other parts that I've missed, it seems that Team Rocket only appeared after the gym battle, and just a scene that they really didn't need to shove Wobbuffet on there and have Yuji Ueda voicing it. But anyway, that's not the point. There really wasn't a lot going, even with Olympia seeing a vision of Zygarde 50% form and whatever's going on with X and Y and Z. But the only thing that I will talk about is the battle, kind of in of itself, but mostly to criticize the end of the XY series with this gym battle. So I definitely recommend at least seeing this episode because it really is a good battle. But unfortunately for me, it wasn't just the battle that was what I was looking forward to. I was expecting a culmination in what was going on, and everything's all messed up and nothing makes any sense whatsoever to me in regards to this particular episode, at least in regards to the story and everything that's happening with the foreshadowing of Olympian stuff. But like I said before, the battle in of itself is great battle, just have some criticisms or whatever. And this will mostly be about my disappointment of Frogadier not evolving in any way, shape, or form. But like I said, there's really not a lot I could discuss in the gym battle. I mean, the only thoughts that I have is probably the best gym battle, relatively speaking, best gym battle so far. It was the perfect battle between Ash and opponent. We had the thing is, because Ash is always has this underdog theme, the battles tend to suffer. This was the biggest case with Tucker versus Ash. With Tucker versus Ash, as I've implied before, in regards to this particular gym battle in previous videos, as my speculation was, it was going to be very similar to Tucker versus Ash in the sense that Tucker was going to overwhelmingly have the advantage over Ash in the very beginning, mid-battle, and up until the end where Ash would turn it around and knock out Arcanine and Swampert in a few attacks. But that's not what happened in this particular episode. In this particular episode, Olympia had a marginal lead ahead of Ash, but then Ash closed the gap and it was a lot more even. And it was definitely a balanced exchange of attacks. And in the end, it was like there was this underdog theme, but then Olympia's Pokemon suffered, and it was both legitimately passable or believable for a very good battle. So that's all I have to say about that in that particular regards. But I want to talk about Frogadier not evolving into Greninja here. So anyway, so just let you know, this is just my meaningless opinion, but I feel as if the story suffered heavily as a result of all the foreshadowing that I feel was a bit unnecessary. I felt like the foreshadowing shouldn't have been in the episode. Uh, it, if I feel like the opening is the next week's opening is probably going to already reveal enough of Ash Greninja to the casual viewer that might not be caught up on the news to hype up Ash Greninja, that I can't imagine why it was necessary to include even more hype before it actually happened. It just the Olympia foreshadowing was great if it wasn't for the fact that there wasn't some follow through at the end of this particular Anistar arc, I guess you could say, where they were in Anistar. There was just no conclusion that was satisfying, and therefore the foreshadowing was unfortunately uh, just didn't make any sense. Now, in fairness to the battle, in terms of the story, there is one thing that I think would have a more satisfying conclusion for me if it didn't happen, and that was just if the foreshadowing just didn't exist at all, or not completely removing all of the foreshadowing, but add the foreshadowing when the gym battle is happening. I feel like that would have been perfect foreshadowing because Ash saw Ash Greninja. But I feel like the whole Anistar Sundial becomes meaningless and pointless because it's like, well, you're not going to evolve it in the very next episode where Ash and Frogadier are going to have a great testament of their bond between each other. It's just going to be a simple battle, and you're just going to further reinforce the foreshadowing because Frogadier tapped into some potential at the end of that particular segment where he was blocking Psyshock, I believe. And it was Psyshock. Those waves were definitely Psyshock, like I thought it was. The ultimate decision was that I thought it was Psyshock. And I think it was just blocking Psyshock with Water Pulse. And then we saw Ice Greninja. It's just with everything going on, it seemed unneeded and unnecessary. It was an awesome scene, but I feel like it would have gotten more satisfaction of having that if the whole entire Sundial episode in regards to Frogadier having that power up happening. I don't think I have any problem with Frogadier's backstory being revealed or whatever, but the whole Ash Greninja foreshadowing probably could have done without. But that's the thing. I just feel like if they didn't have the Sundial foreshadowing and the foreshadowing within the gym, I feel like that would alleviate a lot of the problems that I have with the story of the episode. Not necessarily the battle. The battle was great and perfect for the most part. There was one thing that had a problem with the battle, but I'll get to that in just a moment. Uh, but yeah, but yeah. So my problem is, of course, oh, sorry, thought a cat was peeing instead of sorry, so not important. My problem, as I said in other videos, is that Ash should have had Greninja before the gym battle, or it should have evolved during the gym battle, or even immediately after claiming victory over the gym. And I've said the reasons why, because Greninja is a better Pokemon to use in the gym battle against Olympia than Frogadier. I have no problem with Frogadier defeating Meowstic and claiming victory, but if it's not going to be immediately rewarded by evolving into Greninja, then it just seems like, well, what's the point? What was the point of having Frogadier to begin with? And I will get into why that will be the case later on when I talk about that. But for right now, the reason why I have a problem with this, it's all about missed opportunities. The one thing that Pokemon anime that I've always criticized for is missed opportunities. I feel like Chimchar should have evolved before Candace. I know there was that technical year gap between Candace and Volkner, a whole year where we had nothing but fillers technically and focused episodes and evolutions and captures and releases technically. But I feel like Chimchar should have evolved before Candace, giving Monferno to Candace to beat, and then fast forward to when Monferno evolved. That would have been the perfect time. I can't understand why Chimchar evolved after Candace Gym. I mean, it kind of makes sense story-wise because it was after the gym battle with Candace that Ash met up with Paul, and Paul was just, I think, about to battle against Candace, but then the whole Brandon thing happened. Um, and then there was the whole full battle with Reggie wanting Paul and Ash to have a full battle. And then the full battle happened. So, I mean, I can understand story-wise it would have been difficult to do that if Ash still needed to battle Candace, but still a wasted opportunity. Another missed opportunity, of course, within the Diamond and Pearl series is, of course, Torterra not getting a decent battle where it actually won anything. It was always basically, as a lot of people say in the forums, Torterra was technically a butt monkey, and it was definitely got the Worf effect, quite a bit. If you don't know what the Worf effect is, Worf is a character in Star Trek who is a big, powerful character. He's probably not counting Data, the android, but I think Worf is the strongest physically character within Star Trek: The Next Generation, but he always gets his butt kicked, so that's kind of the problem here. Torterra was the same way, and it's kind of the same with in this series, Noibat. There's just been a lot of missed opportunities, especially with Noibat, so I'm not exactly looking forward to Frogadier evolving because it's not going to be anything exciting personally for me or whatever. But hold on, hold on. Not really a but if the preview we got for next week is legitimately for next week, then Ash's Frogadier is going to evolve next week and likely against Bryony's B-Sharp, as well as getting Ash Greninja. And if not against Bryony, what, randomly while eating lunch before that happens? I don't know what's going to happen next week. There's no definition of what's going to happen next week. The preview for next week was not very helpful, but it seems like, why is Frogadier randomly evolving now? It should have been a reward against Olympia. But anyway, moving on. And then I said here, if we take it at face value, what purpose would it serve to have Frogadier evolving against Bryony? It reeks of it should have already happened already, but as I will consistently say, just my meaningless opinion. It is just an opinion. You can disagree all you want. It's just that the reason why I'm saying this is let's break it down to what I mean if Ash's Greninja was gotten at 3 stages, what it would mean for the story. Why would it be important for Greninja to happen before, during, or right after the gym battle? So here we go. Before Olympia, it honestly would make a lot of sense to me had Ash already received Greninja that we might very well have gotten Ash Greninja during the gym battle, maybe, and thus the foreshadowing serving an ultimate purpose, because Ash would have had Greninja, but then Olympia would see Greninja and be like, there's something more to Greninja than what's there. And then in the gym battle, that could culminate into Ash Greninja. But the only issue that I have with this particular thing and why it probably wouldn't have worked is if Ash Greninja is a permanent form Greninja takes while battling. But, like we've seen Ash's Greninja in its regular form. The X, Y, and Z trailer and next week's preview shows Ash's Greninja just as a Greninja. Granted, its eyes are glowing red and it looks like it's going to turn into Ash Greninja, but the point is Ash Greninja it is not permanent. Technically, we're not always going to see Ash Greninja, but I think that Ash Greninja is going to happen every time Ash battles. It's just going to be like a battling form, I guess you could say, kind of like I guess we'll use Aegislash as an example. You know how Aegislash has a different form? It has its attacking stance and its defense stance. Its attacking stance is it's ready to attack, a giant sword ready to attack or whatever, and it looks really cool. But then we have the defensive Aegislash where it's kind of like that. When Ash is actually battling with Greninja, I feel like it's always going to be Ash Greninja. There may be moments where Greninja could turn into Ash Greninja just for the sake of being Ash Greninja in its resting state, but I feel like it's going to always be Ash Greninja when it's battled, but Ash Greninja is going to be resting state. So then, of course, I realize that might not make any sense because we might not be able to have Greninja for a while. It may be as simple as Greninja happens, and then right after that, Ash gets Ash Greninja. The moment that Ash's Greninja's regular Greninja that we saw in the X, Y, and Z preview, I feel like the moment that it starts battling, it's going to turn into Ash Greninja based on whatever principle or story behind Ash Greninja is. So I feel like that probably wouldn't have made any sense. So what about during Olympia? Now, this is the more important one. This is the most important one. The entire reasoning that I have for Frogadier evolving into Greninja was because of what Olympia said and what we know of Ash Greninja. All about the bond between Ash and Frogadier and thus evolving as a testament of that bond during the gym battle. And together they would achieve victory. Now, I can understand people would complain that Frogadier evolving during the gym battle would be cheap or badly written, but not if it evolved just for the sake of evolving. And even then, in my perception, overcoming an obstacle is basically the definition of bond between trainer and Pokemon. But fine, if people refuse to understand and accept evolution as it pertains to anime, then fine, gamers. If you need your technical limitation, let's move on to the next possibility. Not yet. I need to clarify something that I didn't hear. I said here it could have evolved for the sake of evolving. What I mean is that, and I think I've already addressed this before, is that Frogadier could have sent back the water. Unfortunately, as it turns out, the water pulse blocking with the Ash Greninja was basically pretty much the finale of the gym battle. However, if Tomioka, I believe the writer of this episode, and the animators tweaked it, Ash could have had Frogadier sending that water pulse back and then Meowstic struggling to stay awake and then having Frogadier evolve as a result of that would have been the perfect implication that Frogadier didn't need to evolve, but evolve for the sake of evolving, but during that particular moment. And then Greninja could finish it off, which would probably be the best possibility, unless, of course, struggling to battle and evolving is really that awful, so that would have been the best alternative. But anyway, let's go on to the next one. The next possibility that had for Greninja, right after defeating Meowstic. Now, Of the three that I've already, or the other two that I've mentioned, the third one, this one is probably the least meaningful in regards to the story, but would have served a different purpose and meaning, and I'll explain why. By having Frogadier beat Meowstic would have shown that there was no need for it to evolve during the gym battle. Frogadier by itself could have defeated the Meowstic. But by evolving into Frogadier, but wait, no, but evolving into Greninja after the gym battle would have served the purpose and would have shown that Frogadier had done its purpose, have reached its conclusion, and it was ready to move forward to the next step and to head towards to that particular power. And because it would have happened at a resting state, we probably wouldn't have needed to see Ash Greninja. Granted, I don't know the circumstances regarding Ash Greninja, so I could be completely wrong. But it would have been ready to move forward to share its destiny with Ash and taking the steps required for it to evolve into Ash Greninja. But now, of course, because Frogadier didn't evolve, it's going to lead me to think, oh, so now you're ready to evolve. Now you're ready to evolve. Whatever. But anyway, but as I've said, the quality writing for the gym battle itself was top notch. I I can't imagine anything better in regards to a gym battle in of itself that would be better than what we saw. You know, but it's just sad that the only thing we got for the gym battle was basically just a gym badge. I mean, a gym badge that Ash was already going to receive because there's no way that Ash was going to lose and have to do a rematch. But it's just weird that they ended the series, XY series, only with the gym battle, an epic one. But I feel like if they really wanted to end the X-Y series, Frogadier should have also evolved into Greninja as well. But, whatever. Anyway, yeah, like I say here, my ultimate point is that it just severely drained me. It really did. It drained me so bad to watch just the gym battle, because that's all of the episode that I was able to see was just the gym battle. And then because it was whatever, they repeated some of the scenes, and I was like, wait, what? And then I look on Cerebi, and all they have is pictures. It just severely drained me to the point that I have nothing to look forward to. I was looking forward to having Ash's Frogadier evolving to Greninja, but now it's just I feel like it's not going to have the same meaning or excitement as it once did. When I saw Ash Greninja for the first time, I thought, "Oh my God. Not only was Frogadier confirmed to evolve, Ash's Greninja was special." And you might think Noivern, but Ash is going to have to dig up Noibat's grave if he wants to evolve it, which isn't all that exciting with Noibat clearly being dead, which is why it hasn't been used properly yet. Joke, joke, joke. You know, I mean, yes, Noibat is going to actually show up next week in the first episode X, Y, and Z of all the Pokemon listed that I remember. Noibat is listed. And maybe it'll do something exciting, but even if it does do something exciting, it's going to be too little too late. At this particular point, does it really matter if Noibat is going to be used for anything in the first particular episode? I can't get too excited. Being severely drained of what I thought it was going to be is just, you know, I was looking forward to things, but now it's just everything that's drained me has just left me empty and shallow. It's I really think the only thing that might excite me in regards to the X, Y, and Z series is if something really exciting is shown in the opening. And I plan to do a reaction to that. I plan on doing that before I actually watch the episode. I'm actually going to record my reaction. You're not going to see the opening, but if there's anything truly exciting in the opening, you will probably see my reaction to the opening. If it's what we already know and expect, then you probably aren't going to see my reaction, but I will try to show you my reaction of the opening because I'm really the only thing that I'm really looking forward to, if you want to say that, is the opening. But I doubt there's going to be anything that'll catch me off guard. At the very least, I'm sure it'll have nice animation and really cool spoilers that we already know about. But yeah, so this pretty much concludes the XY series. Next week is the X, Y, and Z series, starting with Mega Evolution Act 4 and the first X, Y, and Z episode. And while I'm not looking forward to the new series as much as I once was, being severely drained for always being wrong with my predictions, I'll still watch it. Nonetheless, I will still continue to make episode reviews, discussions on it as much as I possibly can. So yeah, so you don't have to worry about it. I'm not so drained that I'm going to stop watching Pokemon. There's no way that I would ever be able to do that. If I had a superhuman ability to create my own anime episodes of Pokemon, maybe then I would less be interested in the Pokemon anime series because I'd be too busy making my own. Granted, I don't think I'd be able to upload it on YouTube because it'd probably get copyright strikes. But, that's not going to happen at all. So anyway, at least as far as I know, it's not going to happen at all. So I'm still going to watch it. I'm still going to review it. I'm going to still hopefully try to enjoy it because even if I've been horribly disappointed, the X, Y, and the sixth generation anime is still one of the best ones that we've ever had. At this point, even if I'm horribly left disappointed, I still feel as if it's pretty much equal with the Diamond and Pearl series, in my personal opinion. And I feel like technically, even though I may be more fond of Diamond and Pearl series, I feel like definitely the X, Y, and Z has definitely better quality writing. And if this continues, I can't wait to see Wolfrick's gym battle in the X, Y, and Z series and what other future battles have to hold, even if I'm not going to be as excited as I was hoping to, being so drained as I am. But anyway, let's move on, shall we? Because I have some new information as well as new titles. Yep, that's right. Since my last video, there have been a couple of titles, and I was waiting for this particular video to make it. So right now, we're jumping right into X, Y, and Z. Speaking of which, as I've said, this is the conclusion of the XY series, so this is going to be the last time the thumbnail I have will say Dustin Benzel's XY anime discussion. I will now, from next week and on, I will always use my X, Y, and Z up until a new series is revealed, like DA. Oh God, please don't let there be a DA. Anyway, let's move on. Next week, of course, is Mega Evolution Act 4, as well as the first X, Y, and Z episode, which is, of course, about Zygarde, or the birth of Z, what lurks beneath Kalos, basically, is what that episode's about. And there really isn't any new information. But the one thing I can say is Aliana, Celosia, Bryony, and Mabel will be showing up in the X, Y, and Z episode. Zorosic doesn't seem to have a unique VA, so I don't know if he will show up in the first X, Y, and Z episode. Zorosic is confirmed to show up in the Mega Evolution Act 4, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't know about Mega Evolution or the first episode of X, Y, and Z. Speaking of which, Lysander is also not confirmed to be, is not going to appear in the first X, Y, and Z episode. It's just going to be Team Flare in of itself. If Zorosic shows up in both, that would be great. But also, I don't remember seeing the 4 team scientists listed for the Mega Evolution Act 4. So there really, in terms of VAs, there really isn't anything exciting outside of course, Noibat showing up. And I feel like that's the only Pokemon of Ash that's confirmed. Frogadier could still show up. Pikachu will definitely show up. Halucha might show up because I think it shares the same VA as uh, James, or should I say Kojiro. Um, and I don't know. I don't think Talonflame is going to show up though. If any of the Pokemon don't show up, I think Talonflame is the least likely because I don't think the VA was listed at all. But I could be wrong. But anyway, so yeah, expect the Team Flare scientists to show up. Xerosic is a hit and miss. I feel like he's voiced by Unsho Ijizuka, I believe is his name, the guy who does the narrator, and Professor Oak, who's always labeled as the narrator. So I feel like maybe he voices Xerosic, or maybe even Rika Matsumoto voices Xerosic. I don't know, but if Xerosic shows up, he definitely has a different VA, someone that's already been listed. So I don't know. Anyway, let's jump into the Quilladin episode. We have really nothing new, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you this, but we do have images of the Quilladin episode. We have a Quilladin with hearts in its eyes, and we also have Quilladin dwarfing Chespin and I think Pancham. I think it's Pancham. I'm not entirely sure, but it shows the drastic difference between Quilladin and Chespin. Chespin looks like a plush doll in comparison. Quilladin looks like it's a giant animal thing, probably half the size of me. Chespin probably wouldn't even come to my knee. Probably would be a little bit smaller. And Quilladin looks like it would come to my like waist or whatever, or even bigger. And it feels like Chespin is just like a plush doll in comparison. So I thought that was really cool and just something that I wanted to know. Um, and unfortunately, due to the VA list and the uncertainties, it looks like we're going to have to wait until next Wednesday to potentially see if Marin's Chespin and the Quilladin listed for the Quilladin episode share the same VA. The only problem is Noibat also shares the same VA as Quilladin, or Chespy, I should say. So, wait, hold on. So yeah, we don't actually know what's going to happen there. We don't know if the wild Quilladin is actually Marin's, and like I said, we're probably not going to find out until next Wednesday and Thursday probably. Wednesday, we should at least get VAs for the third episode or the Quilladin episode, and it should at least say what Quilladin is. But like I said, if Yuka Terasaki, I believe is her name, is going to be voicing Noibat in the second episode, then we're not going to know, because if Chespin evolves into Quilladin and Yuka Terasaki voices Marin's Quilladin, like implied, then because they share the same VA, we're just not going to know, in which case we're probably going to have to wait until Thursday, uh, next Thursday, where we'll actually see Mega Evolution Act 4 and see if Marin's Chespin actually evolves. If it doesn't evolve, then probably not. The Quilladin probably has nothing to do with Marin. If, however, it does evolve, potentially, then maybe we'll see Marin relatively soon within the X, Y, and Z series. Also, now that I've thought about it, and I didn't mention this before, and I probably should have, I I may have been wrong in what I thought was going to happen, and I may have slightly mentioned this before. I can't quite remember, but it does seem like Ash and company are actually going to appear in Mega Evolution Act 4 at the very end as they cross paths. Alon and Ash cross paths or whatever. I feel like that is going to happen at the end of Mega Evolution Act 4, or it could happen in the X, Y, and Z. But regardless, it's pretty interesting. But it may be a little while before they actually officially meet up. Anyway, let's go on to the new titles since I'm sure you're looking forward to them. No, not really. If you already know what they are, so then you're probably not going to be looking forward to anyway. So the third episode of the X, Y, and Z series is Mega Audino versus Giga Giga Meowth. The group encounters a Joy trapped behind a rock. She guides them to a Pokemon Center, but they're unable to actually enter it. Oh no. No, but seriously. Oh no, I was right. I'm not really looking forward to this episode in any way, shape, or form. I don't really care what happens. All I know is that I'm not looking forward to a Mega Audino battling against Team Rocket. Now, someone already mentioned something that made me think in the forums. Maybe it's not just Mega Audino versus Giga Giga Meowth. Maybe Ash battles Mega Audino, but at this particular point, I don't really care. So I'm not really looking forward to this episode. Great that we see Meg Audino, but nothing really exciting I feel is going to happen as a result of this episode. So anyway, moving on. Fourth episode, Litleo and Pyroar. A fiery departure. Oh, sorry. Litleo and Pyroar. A fiery departure. Now the summary is a little confusing, but it's because the translator didn't go with perfect English. He went with what it was translated exactly, or what he felt was more correct, because the original had a different tense. It had a present tense, while the beginning of the summary had a past tense. So it may not sound right, but I feel like it's just being cut off. And I'll give you an example of what I mean in just a moment. So anyway, the summary is a Litleo was about to leave its pride in order to live on its own. However, a mysterious shadow with its eyes fixed on it. Dot, 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 dot. I think it's like Dustin is about to, and I think it's leaving it like that, and then you'd have to watch the episode to see what Dustin was about to do. But in this case, does it mean for the mysterious shadow to have its eyes fixed on it? Now, this could either be a capture episode or a flashback episode, or just as filler as likely the Mega Audino versus Giga Giga Meowth seems to be. I don't know what it's going to be. The capture, I feel like Team Rocket are the most likely ones to capture Litleo. The opening probably would prove me wrong. Or if this is a flashback episode, then this is clearly potentially about Lysander and Pyroar. I'm not sure how much I agree with this being about Lysander, though. I feel like it's a little too weird for it to be about Lysander, unless unless it has something to do with the main plot of the X, Y, and Z series. But I feel like if this isn't a capture episode, it's just going to be a random filler episode about a Litleo. The only thing that's weird is that it just doesn't make any sense, personally, for an episode like this to happen with a Leo trying to live on its own without it actually being a capture episode. I don't think the main protagonists are going to capture it. I don't think Ash is going to capture it. I don't think Serena is going to capture it. Clement could catch it, but I'd fail to see the point. But I really think that the most likely person able to catch it, not counting Lysander, because it would be a flashback episode in that instance, but the likeliest thing that I can think of for who would actually capture it would be Jesse. Now I realize that Jesse already has Wobbuffet and Pumpkaboo, while James has Inkay and only Inkay. The problem is Jesse's going to need more Pokemon for Pokemon showcases, and unless she uses James Inkay, she's going to run out of Pokemon with Wobbuffet, Meowth, and Gurgeist. So I feel like Jesse probably needs one more Pokemon for Pokemon showcases. A lot of people are worried about Litleo's future with Team Rocket and being like, no, I don't want to see Litleo being blasted off. Those same people are thinking that James, for whatever stupid reason, is going to get Fanta. And I guarantee you can only imagine how upset I will be if James gets Fanta. I will be super upset because not only does James have Inkay, but he would also have Fanta, and those were the two top options I wanted for Ash being blasted off in every episode. I've already stopped caring about Inkay. Inkay was one of my favorite 6th gen Pokemon because it evolved into Malamar, and Malamar was so cool. It was so awesome, and I was just thinking, how cool would it be for Ash to have a Malamar on his team? Because that thing looks so epic and so different than any of the other Pokemon that Ash would have ever had. And we've already seen decent, kind Malamar in the anime combating against the evil Malamar of that other episode that we saw many decades ago, or like 6, 7, 8, 10 months ago, or however long ago it was. But yeah, it was before Ash got Gumi, I believe. Yeah, it was December 25th. So it's been almost a year since we last saw that episode. I think it was December 25th. It was around there, I believe it was. But I'm going to be so annoyed if James gets Fanta because that is one Pokemon that should be off limits to James. Now, I get it. It's a combination of a grass and ghost Pokemon. It's like a grass type Yamask. But that doesn't mean anything. I don't want Team Rocket with both of the coolest ghost Pokemon introduced ever. Well, not counting Aegislash, because that's an entirely different thing. But the Halloween-based Pokemon, because I don't think Aegislash would actually count in that, but an actual Halloween-themed Pokemon of Pumpkaboo and Fanta definitely being Halloween-themed. It's going to be very frustrating for me to see James with the Fanta, and it's going to annoy me. If he has to have a grass Pokemon, give him Skiddo. If he has to have a ghost Pokemon, give him Shuppet or something. I don't really care. Just stay away from Fanta. Give him Klefki. I've always wanted James with the Klefki because I thought it was so cool because Klefki reminds me of Chimecho and stuff. But anyway, that's kind of irrelevant. Just kind of get off tangent. But anyway, so unless Jesse gets to use Inkay, I feel like Jesse should capture this Litleo, and like I said, I really don't care if Litleo blasts off in every episode because I already have to deal with that enough with Inkay for whatever reason they wanted to give it to James, because it's not like Ash could have used something that cool. And I'm probably not going to look forward to the potential possibility of Fanta being on James's team. So if I have to watch Inkay and Fanta being blasted off in every episode, even though I don't want that, and I already deal that enough with Inkay, then I'm sure people can deal with Litleo being blasted off and potentially Pyroar because of female Pyroar being the same as having the same hairstyle as Jesse's Pyroar, or whatever. You know what I mean. Female Pyroar having the same hairstyle as Jesse. So anyway, okay. So I think I'm done with everything here. So thank you for watching. I'm Dustin Benzel, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.